You've probably heard of ChatGPT, maybe you've even played around with it, but there's another AI that a lot of people are quietly switching to, and that is called Claude. Now, here's the thing, Claude isn't just one thing. There are actually 5 different ways that you can use it, and most people have no idea. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through every single version of Claude, explain what each one does in plain English, and help you figure out which one is right for you, even if you're not technical at all. So let's get into it. Okay, so on to the meat of it. So Claude, what is it? It's another LLM, large language model, made by one of the top 3 AI companies that are out there, Anthropic. And they sit alongside OpenAI's ChatGPT and Google's Gemini. So why would you use Claude instead of ChatGPT or Gemini? Well, just like people, LLMs have different characters and different personalities, and they respond slightly differently to what you want. They also have different strengths and weaknesses. Now, I find Claude is actually more steerable and it's better at understanding my intentions than ChatGPT or Gemini. Also, it depends what kind of work you want to use it for. I use it for very much document heavy work and understanding quite complex documents, but also creating those documents, writing code, building apps and things like that. Whereas ChatGPT I generally uses like a general purpose AI, which is really good at doing lots of things. I find Claude is specifically good for things like writing or just understanding and describing the things that I like better. Gemini is really good at visuals and creating video, audio and sound, video, audio and images. So they all have very different uses, and I use all 3, but for different reasons. So if you think about raw intelligence, all of these models are literally sitting at the top of the leaderboard. You've got, at the time of filming, ChatGPT's 5.2, really smashing the benchmarks. Claude's Opus 4.6, smashing the benchmarks. Gemini 3.1, smashing the benchmarks. Literally, there's so much smashing going on, it's ridiculous. But what I found is that a lot of my tasks, they require more nuanced understanding, not necessarily raw intelligence. So whilst they do smash the benchmarks, I still find that Claude is really good at the things that I want it to do. So I'm going to go through what kind of things I use it for and what those areas are. I'm going to start with the most basic one, which is this Claude AI. So this is basically a chat bot, and it looks like this. So it's like the ChatGPT page, except it's slightly more beige, and I don't know, it just talks to me nicer, I don't know. But you can have a conversation just like you have with ChatGPT with Claude. So why would you use this? Basically, it's really good at writing emails. Everybody loves using AI to write emails. It's good at brainstorming ideas, summarizing documents, or just asking questions. And the great thing is you can use it for free. So everybody can use this web version. There's always a free tier and a paid tier. And my personal guidance is always to go with the paid tier. It's just $20 a month. But what you get with that is access to the latest and most intelligent models, whereas the free versions are just demos and they only give you access to the sort of more dumber, more restricted models. So you don't actually have the full power of AI at your fingertips if you're using the free versions. So always go with the paid plans. And what else do I want to say about this? Yeah, I mean, literally it can do whatever you want. You can add different files and photos, you can add screenshots, you can add to a project, you can do research with it, you can use different connectors. I've got my my note taker connected to this, so every time I've got a meeting, I can say, hey, just look at that meeting I had with John last week and tell me what are the actions I still need to do, and it will basically just find that for me, and I don't have to look for it myself. So there's loads of things you can do just with the web version, which is awesome. The other version I want to go through, let's just move over to here, is Claude Desktop. So that looks like this. Hopefully you can see that on my screen. So it's just a little pop-up box that's installed onto your computer, and it's got the chat feature, which is just like what you saw a minute ago on my website, on my web page. So it's got that feature. You can just have a little chat with it. But most importantly, it's got something called code, which is called Claude Code, and it's nothing to be scared of. Claude Code is actually perfect for non-technical people like you and I, because we don't understand programming languages, whereas Claude does. And we can build apps and all sorts of really cool stuff with Claude just by talking to it, just like I'm talking to you right now. So all you have to do with Claude Code is simply select on your desktop, is simply select this button here and choose the folder that you want to work in. And then you just talk to it like you would talk to the web version. Just say, create me a document, or help me analyze this data, or write this report. And then you basically choose your model, you choose what you want it to do. So if you want it to ask you for permission for doing stuff, if you want it to automatically accept stuff, or if you want it to use planning mode, and I'll come on to planning mode later. But that is literally it. It's based on your computer. It's not on the web. Everything is stored in the computer, and you can do things like create me a new folder. You can ask it to create a new folder. You can ask it to find you the latest key lime pie recipe. I mean, I'm a big fan of key lime pie, but you know that you can just do anything you think of, you can do with Claude Code. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what sort of things you can do with it. But this is what I use it for. So I use it to create documents. I use it to work with my data. So I pull in lots of different data sets or spreadsheets from here and there. I just drop them into a folder, and then I use my desktop app and I click into the folder that I just showed you, which if it will reappear here, who knows? Technology always does this when you want to show somebody something. No, it's gone. You see, this is one of the things I don't like about it, and I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. But basically, all you do is drop all of your files into one folder, and then you go into your Claude desktop and click on that folder and say, Claude, I want you to work within this folder. And that's what clicking on that button actually does. It says you can work within this folder. And then you can start asking it to do stuff like, can you create me a new folder in this folder that says invoices or something like that? And it will do it for you just like that. It's like magic, although it's not magic. Other things it can do, it can build apps, it can build entire workflows, and it can build what we call AI agents, which is really, really exciting. But I'm not going to go into that in this video. I'll make a different video about that. However, one of the things I don't like about Claude Desktop is it's a bit buggy. So as you can see, I've now clicked on it and it's still not showing. That's the second time now, and this is actually really unhelpful when you're trying to work with Claude to do something really important. Nobody wants a black screen, or a white screen in this case. So that's the main thing I don't like about it, but also it doesn't have as many features. So there are lots of things called commands in Claude Code that allow Claude Code to do stuff. And this is basically like giving it lots of different tools, saying being able to go to my note takers and download all my transcripts, or give it access to the web so it can browse and search for various things like read people's latest newsletters, etc. It can't do as many of those things in Claude Desktop as it can in another version I'll show you in a few minutes. So the next one is Claude Cowork, and you probably heard about this a lot because it was famous for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it was actually designed by Claude. It was literally built within 10 days by Claude Code itself. So it built itself another application of itself. I mean, how crazy is that? But it's really interesting. It's basically a much friendlier, non-technical version of something I'll show you in a few minutes' time. But again, it's a little bit buggy, and I personally wouldn't trust it myself. It's not available for Windows at the moment, so if you're on a PC, you won't be able to use this yet, as of filming this video in March 26. But that doesn't mean to say it's not coming. I'm sure it probably is coming. But what it allows you to do is it just gives you this sort of very visual workspace and helps you understand more clearly what it can help you with. So here it says create file, crunch data, make a prototype, and that's like building an app, organize your files, prep for a meeting, draft a message, etc. And on the right hand side here, you can see, it gives you a very visual progress bar of what it's done out of all the things it says it was going to do. It shows you what folder it's working in and what it's created. It gives you options to add in context and add connectors, like give it extra tools to be able to do its job. And it's a very similar sort of interface to the web. So it looks very friendly, which is great. Again, it can be a bit buggy and it doesn't have access to all of the features, but what it can do is exactly the same things that the desktop app can do. You know, create documents, work with your data, organize your folders for you, build things for you, apps, workflows, agents. So there's loads of really cool stuff that it can do. Now, if you were going to speak to Boris, the creator of Claude Code, he would tell you that Claude in the terminal is where he would use Claude himself, Claude Code, because this is the fastest and most powerful way to use Claude. Now, if you have a look at this screen, it looks pretty scary, doesn't it? Because it's black. The text is all like 90s Microsoft MS-DOS sort of thing, and it's got this little cute Claude logo on it here. But it looks weird and not very friendly. So a lot of people who are not typically from a developer background tend to look at this and go, oh my God, I don't want to do that. It looks too complicated. But honestly, if you imagine it was just a white screen instead of a black screen and the font was a different font, it's all the same as all the other things you've seen that I've just shown you. It's just that these guys have a lovely nice font here and a nice white background. That is the only difference visually. The main difference behind the scenes is that it's literally got access to all of the massive toolkit of Claude behind it. And the other great thing is that it doesn't take up very much of your memory on your computer as you try and run it. You know, sometimes when you're running too many things on or you've got too many tabs open, your computer's just like making this really loud sound that sounds like it could power a nuclear site. It doesn't do that because it takes up a lot less space and memory and compute power. So that is why it's one of my preferred ways to use Claude Code. Now, the things that I use this for are basically creating documents, building apps. So if I've got an idea for a website, I just tell it to Claude. I just talk to it like this because I've got this app called Whisperflow that you literally just press a button and you talk to it and it captures what you've said. So I don't even need to type. I literally just talk to Claude Code like I'm talking to you. And it will build me an app, it will build me a website, it will build a workflow for me. If I say, hey, I've got this meeting coming up and I want you to give me all this information about the person that has booked a meeting with me. I've actually built an agent that does that for me, but you can actually build these workflows out and then turn them into agents, which are basically an AI assistant that can do that job for you whenever you invoke it or ask it to, which is what we would call using a slash command. So we would invoke a slash command to access that skill or that particular agent, assistant, whatever you want to call it. I'm a bit confused with all the terminology because I keep changing it and there's sort of blurring from one into the other these days. But you can also do some really cool things like connecting to different parts of your life. So you can connect it to your phone, your emails, your calendar, whatever you want. Literally, you can do it with Claude Code. And that is the most exciting thing about it. And I'll just very quickly show you how that works. So when you go to a Windows PC, or if you've got a Mac, there's a little black square at the bottom of the screen that says terminal. You just click on that and you get this black screen. And then there's only two words you need to know. The first one is CD, which means change directory. And then you just basically write where you want to change directory to. So I'm going to put it into Zelda's productivity tools because I have a whole folder around that. So I've used one word, which was CD, and I've written the name of the folder. And then I'm going to use another word. So simple. Once it's been installed on your computer, all you need to write is the word Claude. And when you do that, then your black box suddenly becomes a Claude Code terminal. And you can literally have the access to the most powerful model on the planet right now. So that's pretty cool. That's how you use it. Really simple. And then you have another way of using it, which is slightly more visual, which is called an IDE, which is an integrated development environment. And this is typically used by developers and coders and very technical people to build products, apps, whatever you want. They write their code in this black box. Now, it's very similar to what you've just seen in terms of this screen here is very similar. But what's different is you've got a left-hand screen here that shows you where the folders are, what folders it's got in that particular workspace. And it just allows you to see very visually what's going on. You can also just drag and drop screenshots and pictures and things like that into here, which will actually show up on a different screen on this page as well. So it's very, very visual compared to the terminal that I just showed you. But it does exactly the same thing, and it's very, very powerful. This particular IDE is called Anti-Gravity by Google. So I've been using Anti-Gravity lately, and I'm quite enjoying it. There's also a more popular version called Visual Code. And you might have heard of the word cursor. That's also another IDE. It's quite old school. It's been around for a long time, and I found it quite cumbersome, so I stopped using it myself. But again, it's great for things like creating documents, building apps, workflows and agents, connecting to all parts of your life, and loads of other things as well. So that's it really in terms of the 5 different ways of using Claude. I've also got a few tips here to share with you because, I mean, there's just so much I can share, but I mean, you've got other things to do. So let me give you the first one. The first one is that context is still the king. It's really important to make sure you give it all of the knowledge that will help it do its job, but not just tell it what you want it to do. You need to tell it why. Now, one of the things that Anthropic was saying in their latest prompting documentation is that Claude loves to understand why it's doing something, and it really does give it that extra dimension and extra perspective so that it can give you really good quality output. So always remember that context is king. And when you are using the terminal or the IDE versions of Claude, what you'll notice is that one of those files on the left-hand side will be a claude.md, which is basically just a document that tells Claude everything it knows about you and how you like to work and why you like to work that way. And if you like to write reports that have loads of bullet points in it, it will say, Zelda likes to have reports with loads of bullet points. Make sure you include them. Or if you like a particular font, make sure you use that. Font. So when it creates the things that you ask it to create, you're going to get much better quality outputs every single time. Next up is that skills are the secret to making Claude work with your custom tools. So if you have a database somewhere and you've got data that you're collecting elsewhere, you've got perhaps a legacy system or tool in your business that you just can't really get it to do what you want, and nobody supports it anymore because it's too old. There's loads of reasons why you might want to use Claude in this instance to connect them all up. You can literally ask Claude to, you can say, Claude, I need you to be able to connect to this so that you can read this from this particular system. Can you do that for me? Can you create me a link to those that will help me with my work? And once you've done that, you can then create a skill around it, and then Claude knows how to do that forever, which is really, really cool. The next one is always use plan mode. So when you are in the terminal or the IDE, there's a little trick where if you press Shift and Tab twice, then you get into what's called plan mode. And what this does is that it reads all the context about your business and you and how you like to work before it does the job that you've asked it to do. And it will literally spend that time planning what it will do, how it's going to do it. It's going to look up all these various things for you and help ensure that it gives you the best possible output. If you use plan mode, you're less likely to get problems, hallucinations, things that are incorrect. So always use plan mode before you do anything complex or big. And finally, second to last is prompting skills are still relevant. Claude, just like every other LLM, needs to know what good looks like. And I've got another video on prompting somewhere in my YouTube. which I will try and connect to on here if I can. But it will allow you to just use a very structured way of prompting the LLM so that you can get very good quality outputs every time. And it's worth spending the time writing a really good prompt. I'd much rather spend 23 minutes writing an amazing prompt that's going to get me 99% of the outcome that I want, rather than 2 minutes writing a quick prompt and then spend an hour and 40 minutes iterating what came out of the LLM because it wasn't good enough. So it's about knowing where to spend your time, and I would always insist that you just spend that time up front writing a really solid prompt so that the LLM gives you what you actually want. And last but not least, and again, straight from Anthropic's guides, do not use the word think when you're writing to Claude, because that word is a trigger for Claude to work really, really, really hard, extra hard, to think really hard about the problem. And what that tends to do is use 3 times the amount of bandwidth that Claude has available. And if you're working on something really complex, what you'll notice is that it really takes up your usage limits, and then you'll be stuck with no usage at the end of the session a lot faster than had you not used that word. So those are my 5 tips. Those are my 5 ways to use Claude Code or Claude. Use it via the web, use it via the desktop, use it via co-work, in the terminal, or through an IDE. I hope that was helpful. If you've got any questions, drop them in the chat or the comments, and I'll get round to them and answer them as soon as I can. Thanks for watching.